Trump weaves me, Devika Devan. Recently, in a phone interview, Donald Trump said no comment to a question if he would use force to seize Greenland. But whether force is ruled out or not, that is not the point of contention here. The discussion today is whether Trump can buy Greenland. And if yes, then how much would that cost? Can countries be treated as a piece of real estate, and has that happened before? In this segment, we're attempting to answer all of these questions. While Donald Trump has not made any official offer, nor has he estimated a price for the land, listen in to what Marco Rubio said when asked if Trump wants to buy Greenland.
Well, that's always been the president's intent from the very beginning. He said it very early on. I mean, this is not new. He talked about it in his first term, and he's not the first U.S. president that has examined or looked at how could we acquire Greenland. There's an interest there. But so I just reminded them of the fact that not only did Truman want to do it, but President Trump's been talking about this since his first term.
Let's also take a closer look at what earlier bids have looked like. Yes, of course, this is not the first time that the United States has explored the idea of buying Greenland. It was in 1946 that the USA made a formal offer of $100 million in gold. This $100 million would mean nearly $1.7 billion today. The 1946 offer was around 0.04% of the US GDP at the time. Today, 0.04% of the USA's GDP would equal to around $1.2 billion. If the cost is evaluated in terms of gold, then $100 million in 1946 could have roughly been 28.8 lakh troy ounces of gold today. If in 2026 one wanted to buy this much gold, it would roughly cost $13.5 billion, as gold has reached record levels of around $4,600 to $4,700 per ounce on the global markets. This offer came at the offset of the Cold War by President Harry Truman's administration. During World War II, a US-built airfield on the island has served as a major refueling point for military planes that were en route Europe. Although Denmark rejected the claim, the US retained military access at the remote Pittsburgh Space Base. The earliest interest in Greenland was shown by the US after the purchase of Alaska in 1868. After the US bought Alaska from Russia, officials under Secretary of State William Seward discussed acquiring Greenland as part of a broader push into the Arctic. At that time, the idea never advanced into a formal offer as Congress had little interest in pursuing another Arctic acquisition. After this, in 1910, under President William Howard Taft, American diplomats floated a complex land exchange plan. This plan would have transferred Greenland to the United States in return for concessions elsewhere. Denmark rejected the proposal and it quickly collapsed. So to sum up history, the USA has floated this idea at least thrice, and once they even sent an official offer. In terms of gold, the same 1946 offer would measure at $13.5 billion. But in terms of USA's GDP share, it would be estimated at $1.2 billion. If Trump decides to extend the offer now, what could that possibly look like? One thing needs to be cleared off the hook. Any modern attempt to price Greenland would reflect a 21st century world, the one that's shaped by geopolitics, climate change, and global competition for resources. Hence, making simple historical comparisons is useful for context, but deeply misleading for estimates. The area of Greenland is around 8 lakh square miles with a population of 57,000 residents. Let's take a look at some of the astounding figures that definitely will drive up the estimated value of Greenland. The value of Greenland's known critical mineral and energy resources alone is more than $4.4 trillion. This figure falls to $2.7 trillion when excluding oil and natural gas. But here's the caveat. Greenland's frigid conditions and small population mean that the territory has a low resource to reserve conservation rate. This term means Greenland may be resource rich on paper, but only a small fraction of those resources can realistically be extracted and sold. Let me give you an example. While Greenland boasts more than 36 million metric tons of known rare earths, it reserves a total of just 1.5 million tons. This means a conversion rate of just about 4.2%. Look at this interesting research by the American Action Forum. They've tried to calculate a ballpark price for Greenland by looking both at its natural resource reserves and its potential real estate value. Applying the conversion rate of resource to reserve of 4.2%, AAF study shrinks Greenland's value to $186 billion. To determine Greenland's potential value based on strategic location, the AAF study compared it with a similarly situated country, Iceland. It would cost the US $1.28 million per square kilometer to buy all the real estate in Iceland for a total of $131 billion, according to this study. According to the same research, applying that price per square kilometer to Greenland, the world's largest island, results in an estimated total value of nearly $2.8 trillion. The Financial Times Alphaville has valued Greenland at a very conservative $1.1 trillion in 2019 when Trump's interest in acquiring the territory first came to light. Former New York Federal Reserve economist David Barker, however, last January valued Greenland between $12.5 billion and $77 billion. To find those numbers, Barker looked at America's prior acquisitions of Alaska and the US Virgin Islands and adjusted those prices based on GDP growth. NBC News estimates this price at $700 billion. NBC quotes this figure as an estimate generated by scholars and former US officials as part of planning around Trump's aspirations. Apart from these estimated figures, it is clear that this is not the first time that the US is trying to buy a country or part of it. In these cost estimates of Greenland, researchers in 1948, following a deal with Mexico valued at $15 million and adding roughly 1.36 million square kilometers of land. This acquisition played a major role in shaping the southern states and strengthening US influence in North America. The US purchased the Danish West Indies, specifically the islands of St. Thomas, St. John, and St. Croix, today the US Virgin Islands, from Denmark in 1917 for $25 million worth of gold. The US saw the strategically positioned islands as necessary to protect the approaches to the Panama Canal and secure the Caribbean during World War I, while also curbing European influence in the region and boosting US naval and commercial security. Before we end this segment, it is important to state that protesters in Greenland have strongly rejected the idea of selling the land, rallying under the slogan, "Greenland is not for sale." Demonstrations and public statements emphasized that Greenland's people, specifically its indigenous Inuit majority, have the right to decide their own future and control their natural resources. Listen in.
Greenland's not for sale.
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 In fact, Greenland's Prime Minister has also expressed that Greenland wishes to remain with Denmark and the EU and is not for sale.
Grønland vil ikke ejes af USA. Grønland vil ikke styres af USA. Grønland vil ikke være en del af USA. Vi vælger det Grønland, vi kender i dag, og som er en del af kongeriget Danmark. Nu står vi med en geopolitisk krise, og hvis vi skal vælge mellem USA og Danmark her og nu, så vælger vi Danmark. Vi vælger NATO. Vi vælger kongeriget Danmark. Vi vælger EU.
Greenland may be rich in strategic